Rebecca Turner. Now, don't forget, you can listen to Good Things. We are streaming live over at supertalk.fm. We're also streaming from that SuperTalk Mississippi app and your local SuperTalk Mississippi radio station. But don't forget about watching us. So we are on your computer, your mobile device. Just head on over to SuperTalk TV. Now, if you've listened to Good Things long enough, you've heard the term Camp Kamassa. It is a camp out in Copiah County, and they finally got to open their doors to campers this past summer, and I think that's a good thing. So joining us is Andrew Vincent with Mississippi Toughest Kid Foundation, and we got Bridgette with Radically Against Dystrophy, RAD, which got to use the camp for the first time. So welcome to you both.
Thanks for having us.
We're glad to be here.
Andrew, I can't believe this is the first time you've been here. We've had the lovely Mary Kitchens, which this is kind of her brainchild, seeing Camp Kamassa come to life, and others. But this is the important piece to sort of Camp Kamassa, which is the Mississippi Toughest Kid Foundation. So kind of introduce us to the foundation and how y'all fit with the camp.
Sure. So the reason that you probably haven't heard from me is because I'm pretty new. I just joined the team in February, but it's really exciting to be a part of everything that's happening. So Mississippi's Toughest Kids was established back in the early 2000s to be able to serve the children of Mississippi who have special needs, disabilities, or chronic illnesses. It all kind of started, if you've heard Mary's story, it all started with her son who had cancer when he was 3 years old, and that just opened them to the medical needs world in Mississippi, as well as those who have special needs and disabilities. And so she made it her mission to add to Mississippi a facility that other states already have, a facility, a campground that would actually serve that population and was intentionally built for that purpose. The facility itself has flat surfaces. It has, a zero entry into the pool. It has handicap stalls in the restrooms in every single building that we have. And so she realized that there are already camps in the state that are functioning to be able to serve this population. They're being held at facilities that don't necessarily have all of those accessibilities there, and so she wanted to change that. And so the foundation has been serving that population for a long time, but the camp has always kind of been the pet project and the goal. And so we're very excited that we're right here on the cusp of being able to officially open next year.
Because how many years in the making has this been?
For her, it's been a really long time. Yes. I mean, that was 1977 when it really officially began, yeah. So a long time. But 20 years officially really fundraising and beginning to start the process of having the vision for the camp and building the camp.
And some who have followed Good Things for a while will also remember the great stories of you guys partnering with the military to come in and utilize their workforce so they can also get their training in to help build some of these great buildings. I mean, it's just been a phenomenal story of how perseverance can make something happen if you just sort of stick with it. And finally, we got campers to Camp Kamassa. And Bridgette, I can only imagine how excited your campers were this past summer as being the first inaugural campers there at Camp Kamassa. But give us a little background about Radically Against Dystrophy, RAD, and maybe what your summers looked like prior to Camp Kamassa.
Radically Against Dystrophy, we've been around for quite a while as a team, a group of volunteers who volunteer every summer to help children who have mobility impairments attend camp, just like any other child that goes to different camps throughout the state or travel for it. We were using other facilities around Mississippi, but they were not handicap accessible. We just overcame the obstacles to make these kids a safe place to attend camp wherever we were. But when Kamassa was coming to almost completion and they had places where we could actually sleep and eat, I approached Miss Mary and said, could we please just give it a try? Could we just be your guinea pig camp and see how it works for RAD? And she was, yes, open arms, please come. This is going to be wonderful. We'll figure it out as we go. We'll do it as a team. And she just opened the doors, and luckily we were able to come in, and it was an absolutely perfect week. I can't explain how happy our RAD campers were coming in and the smiles on their faces to actually see that they were going to be able to do everything. There was no limits. We didn't have to say no to anything. It was wonderful.
So explain, typically, would your RAD campers be in a wheelchair, or all of them sort of live life in a wheelchair?
Most of them, yes. Some of them are walkers. Some of them have canes or crutches or just different. Everybody's abilities are different. And so most of them, yes, are in a wheelchair.
So if you can think through that and then think back to your experience at camp, you have all the stairs, you have all the different, just the little one-up at the concrete level, from the bathrooms, from the pools to the horseback, to all of that. You can see where this would be a tremendous relief of just not having to worry about any of that and just go and sort of have a good old time. What is probably the least or the most underrated but most impactful handicapped accessible part that helped with camp this year? That probably came out all wrong, but you know what I mean. That people don't think about that had the most impact in terms of camp directors or for the camp experience.
Well, as facilities, the pool, I would say, is the most outstanding part and the most thing that the kids enjoy the most, simply because when they're in the pool they can walk in water because they're weightless. So that to them is freedom, independence, and having a zero gravity entry pool where you can just roll right in and any child can get in or out without having to be lifted or hurt in any kind, feeling a little bit skittish about getting in water. Having that pool made all the difference. At one point, I was sitting in the pool and I looked outside the pool and realized there was no one outside the pool. Every single kid, every single volunteer was in the pool. And it just brought tears to my eyes because I thought, we've never done this before, because we've always had a few kids who were scared to be lifted and walk down a flight of stairs while someone's holding them. That is very intimidating. And not to have that fear and the realization that we were all participating, it was overwhelming.
And then you could enter into your degree of comfort if you just want to sit and sort of enjoy.
Right.
So having that idea of just no one left out, that kind of makes me a little I can see where this was such a need, Andrew, and why so many people are gearing up and sort of excited about it. But thinking back through the accessibility part, Miss Mary and her team, it was painstaking going through to make sure to share with us I know you weren't there for that, but kind of what went into making sure it was the most accessible camp possible.
It's really one of the things that impacted me the most whenever I first came to talk with Mary and their team, was just all of the thought and research that's gone into the site. Your typical camps are beautiful, they're tucked into the woods, and it's very spread out, and that works for a certain population, but it just doesn't work as well for a group like Bridgette's. It needs to be a flat, more consolidated, close proximity type of layout. And so when you get into the main campus core, the camp cabins are close. There are flat surfaces and wide sidewalks. There will be a covered walkway that will go around and touch each of the major buildings that we have. If the camper needs to come from their cabin and get to the infirmary or get to the cafeteria or the pool or our activity building, they can do that actually underneath a covered walkway once that is put in. It's nice and open in the middle. Not every walkway is covered, but it does give you that opportunity to stay out of the sun or stay out of the rain if that's needed. Every facility has a handicap stall in the restroom. Every cabin has a handicap shower that is in the cabin as well. We have different styles of cabins as well, so we'll have different types of groups that will actually use our facility within the populations that we serve. And so Bridgette's group is more of a kids-based camp with counselors that come and they would stay for a week. But we also might have family camps and we might have adult camps. And so we have your typical cabin that serves that a child and that type of need with a big open room and a more of a community bathroom situation, but also family cabins that allow families to be able to stay together and have a private room and a private bathroom. So they thought about those things, and as they did their research, they didn't just stick to the original plan. They actually changed some of those cabins and made them serve more groups and widen the scope of who we might be able to serve. There's just so many details. Our future amphitheater will have ramps that allow wheelchairs to be able to access those and stairs. So for your ambulatory campers, they can use the stairs. If they happen to use a wheelchair, they can also participate. Every activity that we put in place at Camp Kamassa, we want to be an activity that anyone could participate in. Our future rock wall will have a typical looking rock wall, but it'll also have an accessible ramp. So even someone who might use a chair and have some use of their arms or their legs or no use of their arms or legs, they will still be able to participate. And so we do the research and we're making sure that anything that's there, anyone would be able to participate in.
Other than the pool, what was Rad's favorite part of Camp Kamassa? She's like, the pool.
No, all the things he just mentioned, we loved it every day. Thinking just simply about a shower. It should be something that's simple, you come into a cabin, you should be able to get a shower, not have any trouble. But most other camps that we would rent for the summer would have the step up, and therefore it would be a challenge to shower children who are in wheelchairs or needed assistance. Some can't step up even an inch, and so having the ability to just have everyone be able to get a proper shower, that was quite an accomplishment. The great room that they have, I'm not sure that it's been named yet, if it's the dance hall or what, but it's ginormous, and we were all able to fit in there and do all kinds of activities, whether we were filled with 100 wheelchairs or not. We
can
fit.
only imagine that sight. What a good dance party that
It
was.
We had lots of wonderful dance parties every night because we could all fit.
And we've got more good conversation with Camp Kamassa coming up next. Mississippi radio station. Don't forget about watching us. We are on your computer, your mobile device. Just head on over to SuperTalk TV. We're continuing our conversation with Andrew with the Mississippi Toughest Kid Foundation, and also with Bridgette. She's with Radically Against Dystrophy. Together, they partnered so Camp Kamassa could have its inaugural camp this past summer, which I think is just amazing. And you mentioned, Andrew, the sky's the limit. So where do we go from here? Because I know you guys, Bridgette, were kind of, as you said, a guinea pig, but camp was successful. So what's not completed? Maybe I should ask you that, Andrew. So what was limited in terms of just being completed for RAD this past summer?
Well, a big part of their camp that was not completed yet was our cafeteria and our infirmary.
Oh, how did that work out?
Yeah, it's like, how do you have a camp without food? Nothing really gets in Bridgette's way. I'll just be quite honest. She was the perfect camp to be able to partner with in this situation. But yeah, our cafeteria and our infirmary was not finished yet, and it will be finished probably early 2025, January through March. But they made it happen this summer. They brought in lots of different meals and had sponsors that were taking care of all of that.
You're like, that's the easy part.
Oh, yes.
Like figuring out how to feed them is the easy part. It's all the other parts that just make it a little bit more hectic. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the infirmary, I may say it wrong, but it's like the hospice, the clinic that's on camp. And even though most camps that you send your kids to during the summer have some form of healthcare staff that stays there or place, it's a little more important when you're dealing with folks who just have all kinds of different issues all the time. So how important is it to get the clinic, I'm going to say that because it's an easier word, finished before it can be open to a lot of different camps?
Very important. That's probably the game changer for our facility because of the populations that we'll serve, the children and adults that will be a part of our camps. This infirmary will be super important because, for instance, Camp Rainbow is a camp in Mississippi that serves children with cancer. And there's Camp Bluebird that also serves adults with cancer. And so as they come, we want for them to be able to come and not have to leave and go back for a treatment or not have to, even though we're very close proximity to Jackson, Crystal Springs isn't that far, it's still time, and so there will be medical teams that will come with these organizations that will use our facility, and they'll actually be able to treat and take care of their campers while they're there and they won't have to leave. So we're building a treatment room that chemo treatments will be able to actually happen there. Dialysis will be able to happen there. All different types of needs can be treated in this little clinic, like you just called it. It really is. When you walk in, it looks just like a smaller version of a clinic that you would walk into. Treatment rooms, med storage, overnight rooms if that's necessary, a large open treatment room, and then even overnight rooms for the medical team to be able to stay right there with access to all of the cabins through an intercom system. If there's anything that's needed or they need to patch into another cabin on campus, they would be able to do that. So that really is the big difference in our camp. Is a lot of camps that are currently happening around the state may use a cabin or a portable situation. They may even use their car, where the nurse has an ice chest and refrigerated meds go around with her, and she takes care of things, and they make it happen. But this is being intentionally designed and built for the functionality that would be needed in those types of camps.
Bridgette, you mentioned camp this past summer. Obviously, RAD enjoyed their first week there. Is it 1 week out of the year that RAD would utilize Camp Kamassa, or now that you have a place where you all get on the docket throughout the year for the facility?
Most likely we'll keep it right now as the summer camp that we've been doing for years. It just works for us, and one of our challenges has been the way the school systems have changed. Some of them are 2 weeks on and 2 weeks, however it works. I don't know. I don't have kids in that age group anymore, and it changes. But right now, it just makes sense for us to raise money to keep the 1 week that we have summer camp. Now, we do hope to have Christmas parties and other reunions and things like that, but probably just the 1 week for this time.
Andrew, you mentioned a couple of different Camp Rainbow, Bluebirds, Blue something, and then obviously Rad. How many camps, and you don't have to give like a hard number-ish, do you guys know that's just waiting for Camp Kamassa to like open up their calendars for their summer, even fall? Because really you can go to camp all year round and have different experiences.
Well, we've already talked to about 5 to 6 different camps that are ready to kind of be a part of next summer. There's about 20 different camps that happen already for special needs in the state, but not all of them necessarily have to have all of the accessibilities that we provide. So some of them are happy where they are, and that's great. We just want to be able to provide a home for those camps that have struggled through the years to be able to hold their camp and have just kind of had to make it happen. You know, Mary tells the story about camps that she's been a part of where they've had to bathe kids in kiddie pools in their swimsuits outside because it just did not work in the restrooms. And same thing with, you know, using a toilet and things like that. Sometimes people need help being transferred for that process to be able to happen, and so they've had portable toilets and things like that. And so we're just so happy that this facility will be able to serve children and adults even better.
Will Camp Kamassa have its own camp? Does that make its own like week, right? Like I know that's in the renting phase, but even in rentals, the people who own it want to go and enjoy it for a week. So we all open it up for like I guess an actual Camp Kamassa week or two.
Sure. We know that that's probably a part of our future. As we get started, we're gonna partner with different organizations, just like Bridgette's group, and they have the expertise in dealing with those kids and those adults, and they have the connections with the medical teams as well. But we know that there are plenty of diagnoses in the state that don't have camps right now and don't necessarily even have foundations, and we want to try to really broaden the scope of who is served, not just children as well. We want to have adult programming, and that really is a neat opportunity as well, because just like Bridgette mentioned, the school year really dictates when children's programming can happen, but it doesn't necessarily dictate when adult programming can happen. And so whether that's a weekend or a midweek event, a day use event, or even summer programming for adults as well, we really want to be a part of helping that to happen. And we're reaching out to different organizations even now and having those conversations to see if they're willing to be a part of creating more programming for autism, more programming for Down syndrome, more programming for so many different diagnoses that are just not served right now.
And we even talked about too the fact that Miss Mary has this vision of those who may be living in nursing homes or have elderly care during the day, that they would also have the opportunity to come out. So if folks are listening and they're thinking, man, this sounds amazing for the group that I serve, does it have to be 50 or 100 kids that are coming? Can it be 5 or 6 for a weekend? Sort of, Andrew, how would you tell them to move forward in getting their questions answered?
Just reach out to us and let's start a conversation. You know, as we get started, there's going to be a lot of opportunities to create new things. And so, you know, sometimes we think in a cookie cutter mentality, and it's easy to just say that this is the way it's going to work. You know, if there's a creative idea to be able to work with a group, ultimately, we just want to serve this population. That's why this facility has been under construction and in the dreaming and building stage for a long time now. And, you know, if it's never been done, maybe it's time to actually start doing it now.
And I know y'all are still fundraising. There's still big projects, still things down the line. I heard you say like an amphitheater, and I'm sure as it grows, you just have different phases and stages of the camp. Do y'all have big events coming up or ways that people can support that way or volunteer? What you got, Andrew?
So right now we have a couple of different drives that are going on. I mentioned the cafeteria, that it's under construction, and we have a supplies drive that's going on right now. You could reach out to our website and be a part of that. We have ongoing fundraising just for general operations. Construction is one thing, and then moving into operations is a completely different thing, getting everything set up and making sure that things are ready to get started next year. We also have a wish list on our website as well that you can see things that are on Amazon and plenty of other websites that we have on there, lots of games and needs that we have to be able to set up our facility as well.
I know we mentioned Copiah County is where Camp Kamassa is located, Andrew, but if folks don't know that, what's your best Mississippi directions to get them there? Or at least where, maybe not go today, but I mean, know where it's at.
Yeah, so if you're headed down 55 towards Brookhaven or towards New Orleans, Crystal Springs is right off of I-55, about 15 to 20 minutes south of I-20. And then the camp is off in the woods just a little bit, probably about 10 more minutes off in Copiah County, and that's actually the reason that our name is also exists is because Copiah is a Choctaw word, and Kamassa actually means tough or strong, just like our foundation name, Mississippi's Toughest Kids. So out in the country, in the middle of Copiah County.
If someone's thinking about maybe supporting Camp Kamassa for the first time, Bridgette, what's your sort of plea? Say, do it.
Well, go to their website and definitely donate if you can. They have an option for monthly donations. So if you want something that is given every month on behalf of Camp Kamassa, that would be fabulous. But the cafeteria is going to be a huge thumbs up once it gets going, because obviously, like he said, we had to have all our meals either donated, brought in, grilled right there on the facility for us, and we ate them in the dance hall, which was perfectly fine. But we're very much looking forward to having a stocked, functioning cafeteria. So let's hit that real hard and get that. They have a little tick line. Let's get that filled.
I am leaving, Bridgette, with the view of all the kids in the pool together, nobody sitting out, because it was perfectly accessible for everybody to get in. Like, Well, I can't wait to have y'all back next year when it's fully open and operational. Andrew, you're welcome back anytime. Bridgette, thank you for your time, and kudos to what y'all have already accomplished.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, stick with us. We got more for you coming up.